In this video, we'll explore the stop-loss rule, which, as you might expect, allows you to set a stop-loss for one or more trades. Let's start by configuring the rule input data fields. The Trade IDs field references the trades for which we want to set a stop-loss. Trade IDs are a list of one or more unique identifiers for trades and are output by rules such as place trades, trade collector, or filter trades. The trades could have been placed at any time, either individually, in a group, or filtered from another list. A stop-loss can be set on a trade when it is either a pending order or an open position. However, a trade can only have one stop-loss configured at a time. Therefore, executing a stop-loss rule for a trade that already has a stop-loss set will replace the existing stop-loss. Now, let's look at the different types of stop-loss that are available. First, we have the target price. This specifies an absolute price level that acts as the stop threshold. When the market reaches this level, the trade is closed. This value can be entered manually or passed in from other rules to create a dynamic stop-loss price. Next, you can define your stop-loss in terms of pips. This approach sets the stop a fixed number of pips away from the trade's entry price. The number of pips is negative for a stop-loss that will close the position at a loss, or positive if the position is closed in profit. If you prefer to manage risk in monetary terms, the amount option lets you specify exactly how much you're willing to risk, either in the strategy's default currency or in the symbol's quote currency. The number of pips and stop-loss price will be calculated to match that risk amount, taking into account your trade quantity. Again, the amount will be negative if the stop-loss closes the position at a loss, and positive if the position is closed in profit. The next option is distance pips. Instead of anchoring the stop-loss to your entry price, this option sets the stop-loss a fixed number of pips away from the current market price. This is particularly useful for locking in profits. For example, if a buy trade is currently 300 pips in profit, placing a stop-loss 100 pips away from the current bid price ensures a minimum of 200 pips profit. Note that the distance in pips is always a positive number, as it is calculated relative to the current spot price and does not indicate whether the stop-loss would result in a profit or a loss. Similarly, the distance amount option works the same way, but instead of pips, you define the stop distance in monetary units. So, if a trade is $120 in profit, setting a stop-loss distance of $50 relative to the current spot price locks in $70 of profit. Lastly, there is the break-even for each position option. This sets the stop-loss to the entry price of the trade. It's an effective way to eliminate downside risk while still allowing winning trades to run. If a position is profitable, it stays open with zero risk. If a trade is losing when the break-even stop-loss is set, the trade will close immediately. Once a stop-loss has been configured, in this example, let's set a stop-loss to 500 pips. You can enable the trailing option. This moves the stop-loss dynamically with the market price, maintaining a maximum fixed distance from the current spot price as the price moves in your favor. This is typically used in trend-following strategies where you want to ride the momentum while protecting against sudden reversals. Sometimes, you may want to keep your stop-loss orders hidden from the broker or exchange. That's where the silent option comes in. When activated, stop orders are not sent to your broker, but are instead managed by Arconomy and only executed when a tick price condition is met. This prevents random ticks from closing positions, especially in low liquidity or adversarial trading environments where market makers may employ stop hunting tactics. The final configuration option is scale out. This mechanism can be used when multiple trades are employed to manage an aggregate position within a strategy. The scale out calculator can assign a different stop loss to each trade in the list passed to the stop loss rule. First, we can sort the list of trades passed into the rule by either the created time or the target price of each trade. Here, the target price refers to the entry price for positions. So, if the trade list is a mix of pending orders and open positions, the target price of the orders will be compared to the entry price of the positions. We can configure whether to sort the target price of each trade in ascending or descending order. Next, we select the calculator type to determine how the stop-loss price will be calculated for each trade relative to the previous trade. The stop-loss for the first trade is set using the standard stop-loss configuration. The scale-out calculator is then used to calculate the stop-loss for each subsequent trade in the sorted list. Basic arithmetic operations are available for dynamically recalculating the next stop loss. For example, the decrement operation will subtract the number of pips entered in the adjust by field from the number of stop loss pips that were set for the previous trade in the list. Be careful to use the correct sign for the number of pips. Using decrement with a negative value will actually add pips to the previous stop loss. The adjust after field determines how many trades in the sorted list must appear before each recalculated stop loss is applied. The minimum field is used to enforce a floor. If the calculated stop loss falls below this number of pips, the minimum will override the calculation. As an illustration, we've configured the stop loss rule to set the stop loss for the first trade in the sorted list to 500 pips. The scale-out configuration sorts the trades by target price in descending order, from highest to lowest entry price. The calculator type is set to multiply, and we adjust the stop loss value by multiplying the previous stop loss by 1.5 after every 2 trades in the list, effectively increasing the stop loss by 50% at those intervals. The stop loss target prices for 10 sample trades in gold against the US dollar passed to the stop loss rule would be calculated accordingly. The scale-out calculator enables a strategy to apply tiered stop loss exits to a list of trades. It is especially useful when used in conjunction with the placed trades rule as part of a strategy that is scaling into a position.